I gave up my share of the house to help my sister. A year later, she kicked me out. There's a special kind of silence that fills a house after the last parent dies. It's not just the absence of footsteps or laughter. It's a vacuum where purpose used to be. That's what the old house became after Mom passed, 2 years after Dad. Just me, my sister Melissa, and the weight of everything they left behind. The house wasn't big, 3 bedrooms, an aging kitchen with avocado green tiles from the 70s, and a creaky back porch that still moaned under your feet like it had secrets. But it was ours. It held birthday parties, flu seasons, teenage heartbreaks, and graduation toasts. It held us. When we sat in the lawyer's office and heard that the house was split 50-50 between us, Melissa didn't even wait for the coffee to cool. "Oscar, listen," she began, her voice already shaky. "I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking you to consider what makes sense." She looked tired. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, the kind that said single mom with no time, and her eyes had that glassy layer that signaled incoming tears. "You know I have Liam," she said, voice low. "He's starting school soon. I can't move him around again. This place, it's stability for him. You don't even like this neighborhood." I stayed quiet, letting her speak. Melissa was always better at emotion. I lived in logic. I worked remotely in cybersecurity, had a modest apartment downtown. No kids, no partner, no major attachments. Just me and my routines. Mom wanted us to be okay, she pressed on. "You know that. And I'm not saying I'll never pay you back. Hell, if I could, I'd buy out your share. But with daycare and groceries and, God, Oscar, please." She reached across the desk and grabbed my hand. "You're my big brother. You've always looked out for me. Don't stop now." I looked at the lawyer, then back at her. She was trembling slightly. I thought about Liam, 6 years old, sweet kid. He once gave me a macaroni drawing of Uncle Ozzy the robot because I fixed their internet once. And I thought about what Mom would have said. Family comes first, she always reminded us. One day, it'll just be the 2 of you. Take care of each other. So I nodded. "Okay." Melissa blinked. "Okay, I'll sign it over. You keep the house." The relief that flooded her face was immediate. She started crying for real, laughing through the tears. "Oh my God, you're the best. You're the best brother in the world. I swear, Oscar, this will always be your home too. You hear me? Always." The lawyer slid the papers across the table. A waiver of interest. My half, gone in ink. I signed. That night, we sat on the back porch, drinking the last of Dad's dusty scotch. The cicadas were loud, the stars dim behind a haze of city light. Liam was asleep inside, cartoons still murmuring on the living room TV. "You're a good man, Oscar," Melissa said, swirling her glass like she knew what she was doing. "Seriously." "I don't say it enough." I smiled. "It's just a house." "No," she corrected me. "It's home." She rested her head on my shoulder like we were kids again. I remembered when she broke her wrist falling off the swing and wouldn't stop crying until I let her sleep in my bed. We'd grown up so close. We had to. Our parents were strict, especially Mom. They ran the house like a ship. Chores, curfews, expectations. But under that, there was love. A hard kind of love, but real. I stayed at the house for a while, helped fix up some plumbing, repaired the broken fence, watched Liam when Melissa worked late. She'd make dinner sometimes, bad pasta, frozen meatballs, whatever she could microwave between tantrums and laundry. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt ... right. Like I'd done the right thing. Like I'd helped someone I loved and didn't lose anything real in the process. But sometimes late at night, I'd wake up and wonder, had I made the right call? And every time I told myself, it's family. Of course I did. At first, it was small things. "Hey, Oscar," Melissa called one morning, holding a laundry basket on her hip. "Do you mind moving your shoes? Liam keeps tripping over them in the hallway." Sure. My sneakers were in the entryway, where they'd always been, but I picked them up and moved them to my bedroom without a word. Then it was a coat rack. Then the bathroom shelf. Then a cheerful sticky note on the fridge. "Let's all try to keep the shared spaces clean, okay?" At first, I thought I was imagining it. The shift, the tightening, the invisible leash being pulled. But then came the bills. Melissa knocked on my door one Thursday night with a gentle smile and an envelope. "I hate to even bring this up," she said, "but since you're here pretty often and we're all using utilities and stuff, maybe it'd be fair if you pitched in a little. Just a couple hundred each month for water, heat, you know. I blinked. I'm sleeping on the couch most nights, Liz. I barely cook here. I know, she said quickly, and we're so grateful you're helping with Liam. It's just, Troy's been helping out too, and it's only fair. Ah yes. Troy, Melissa's new boyfriend, introduced as someone from work 6 months ago. Then suddenly he was around all the time. First it was dinner, then overnight stays on weekends. His laugh boomed through the house, the kind that took up space even when he wasn't in the room. Troy was the opposite of me. Loud, charming, hyper-masculine in a performative kind of way. Leather wristbands, protein shakes, unsolicited advice. He had an opinion on everything, from how I held a wrench to what kind of cereal was alpha. And then one Friday, I came home early from a work meeting and found his gym bag in the hallway, his boots by the door, his cologne in the bathroom. I asked Melissa about it while she was pouring juice for Liam. He's just staying here while his place gets sprayed for termites, she said breezily. Just a couple of days. A couple of days turned into a week, then a drawer in the bedroom, then his name on the mailbox. I'd officially become the third wheel in a house I didn't even own anymore. One night, I came back from the grocery store with a frozen pizza and walked into the living room to find Troy on my end of the couch, arms spread like he owned the place. He glanced up from the TV and smirked. "Man," he said, not even looking away from the screen, "aren't you a little too old to be couch surfing at your sister's place?" I paused. He grinned, chewing on his gum. "No offense, just saying. You got your own gig, right? IT or something?" "Cybersecurity," I said flatly. Right. So what's stopping you from getting your own space?" "Feels kinda, I don't know, cramped here, don't you think?" Melissa came in from the kitchen, holding a plate. "Troy," she warned, "don't be rude." He raised both hands like a kid caught stealing cookies. "Just making conversation, babe." I didn't respond. I went to my room, shut the door, and sat on the bed, the pizza forgotten. My room. It used to be my childhood bedroom. Posters of old sci-fi movies still clung to the wall like ghosts. The desk where I used to do algebra homework now held my work laptop, and a stack of bills I hadn't agreed to pay. Outside the paper-thin wall, I could hear Liam yelling something about chicken nuggets. Then Melissa laughing. Then Troy, loud, deep, unfiltered. Their life was happening out there, and mine felt like it had been paused. A week later, Melissa left a note under my door. "Can you be out on Saturday afternoon? We're hosting Liam's birthday party, and there won't be space." Tex. That Saturday, I sat in a coffee shop for 4 hours, trying to focus on debugging a firewall issue while Baby Shark echoed in my head from imagined speakers. When I came home, there was cake smeared on the kitchen counter and a pile of torn wrapping paper on the floor. I walked to the bathroom and found Liam's toys in the sink and Troy's razor on the counter. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to muffled laughter through the wall. At one point, Melissa shrieked with laughter. Then the familiar creak of someone's footsteps, Troy's, walking down the hallway in nothing but socks. And I realized I wasn't part of this house anymore. I was tolerated, barely, a guest in the home I gave away. The morning felt like any other. I came into the kitchen, still groggy from a night of tossing and turning on a mattress that was older than Liam. The smell of eggs and toast was in the air. Melissa stood at the stove humming. Liam tapped away on a tablet at the table, and Troy was shirtless, pouring himself orange juice like he'd lived there his whole life. I sat down without saying a word. Melissa turned, spatula in hand, and gave me a smile. A little too cheerful, a little too planned. "You've got a good heart, Ozzy," she said, sliding scrambled eggs onto a plate. "But I think it's time you found your own place." The words didn't register at first. "What?" She set the plate in front of me, not meeting my eyes. "I mean, come on, you're 33. It's time. I live here. Melissa, you stay here. There's a difference." My fork hung frozen in midair. Troy sipped his juice slowly, eyes flicking between us, clearly enjoying the show. "I gave up my share of this house to help you," I said quietly. "You said." "I know what I said," she snapped. Then softer, as if rehearsed, "Things change. I'm a mother. I have a partner. We need stability, privacy." "You promised," I said, my voice rising despite myself. "You cried and said, 'This will always be your home too.' You looked me in the eye." She finally met my gaze, and it was ice. "It's not your house anymore. You signed it away, remember?" I pushed back from the table. the chair legs scraping against the tile. Liam looked up, startled. Troy gave a little whistle. "Awkward," he muttered under his breath. I left the kitchen before I did something I'd regret. I pulled out every document I had, copies of the deed transfer, text messages from Melissa, even a selfie we took the day I signed. She was crying in it, mascara smudged, clinging to my arm like I was some kind of hero. But legally, it was airtight. "I'm sorry," the lawyer said, after reviewing the files. "You relinquish your rights. There's no ownership, no tenancy agreement, nothing to stand on. She can ask you to leave with reasonable notice." 30 days, I muttered. He nodded. I hung up and sat in my car for a long time, just gripping the wheel. No music, no tears, just a dull roar in my ears, like standing too close to a jet engine. Melissa didn't even look guilty. When I came back that night, she was folding laundry in the living room. Calm, serene, like she hadn't just shattered the last piece of family I had left. "I'll give you 30 days, she said. "That's more than fair." I said nothing. She turned to look at me, folding one of Liam's tiny socks. "Come on, Ozzy. It's not like you're homeless. You have a job. You'll land on your feet." I stared at her like I didn't recognize her anymore. "No hard feelings, right?" she added, forcing a smile. I walked past her without a word. In my room, no, not my room anymore, I pulled out a cardboard box and started folding my life into it. A few shirts, my laptop, childhood photos I'd stupidly kept in the bottom drawer. Everything else? It didn't belong to me anymore. Moving day came faster than I thought it would. Troy offered to help carry boxes. I declined. Melissa stayed inside with Liam, probably to avoid watching me walk out. I wondered if she even remembered that this was the same house where I taught her to ride a bike, where we watched Home Alone 100 times every Christmas, where I stayed up with her the night she found out she was pregnant, curled on the kitchen floor crying her eyes out. I stepped out with the last box, nothing but socks and hard drives inside, and shut the door behind me. Not a slam, just a quiet click. And that was it. I stood on the front step, the familiar creak of the wood under my feet. The garden Mom used to weed every Sunday was now mostly dry patches. The porch light flickered. I always meant to fix that. I didn't cry, didn't rage. I just stood there, numb, my box of leftovers in hand, and realized I no longer had a key. This wasn't my house anymore. And maybe it never really had been. The studio apartment smelled like damp carpet and microwave dinners. It was small, too small, and the ceiling had water stains in the corners that looked like continents. The walls were off-white, the kind of white that's just tired of trying. The heater clanked when it turned on, like it resented being asked to do its job. And despite all that, the silence was the loudest part. I dropped my one box onto the scuffed linoleum floor and just stood there. This was it. Home. No laughter from the next room. No clink of coffee mugs in the kitchen. No Liam bouncing a ball against the hallway wall. Just me and 4 cheap walls I was paying too much for. I lay down on the futon, the only furniture that came with the place, and stared up at the cracked ceiling. A piece of it looked like Melissa's face when she told me to leave. I turned over. Sleep didn't come that night. Work didn't help. I was still logging into my IT job every morning, but my mind was blank. I missed deadlines. I ignored emails. Meetings blurred together until I didn't know what day it was. My manager called once to check in. I told him I was adjusting to a move. He didn't press. I barely got out of bed most days. Then one night, I opened Instagram. Melissa had posted photos of the backyard. There was a brand new pool. Blue tile. In-ground. Fancy chairs and string lights like it was a resort. "With your help, we made this house a home," she wrote in the caption. Troy was in the background, shirtless as usual, holding Liam on his shoulders. Melissa wore sunglasses and a bikini that probably cost more than my rent. She looked happy, like I never existed. The next photo was them at a shopping mall, then at some overpriced steakhouse, then Liam's birthday party, bounce house, magician, the works. I wanted to look away, but I didn't. Even my friends didn't get it. "You gave up your share, why exactly?" One of them asked over coffee. "You're not dying. You don't have a vow of poverty." "It was family," I said. "She kicked you out." "I know." He leaned back and stared at me like I was some rare species of idiot. "You realize you got played, right?" The word stayed with me. "You got played." It got worse. One night, I was digging through old emails for a receipt and saw an automated notification from the property registry. The house deed had been updated. Melissa's name. And Troy's, not Liam's. Not a trust. Not for tax reasons. Just Melissa and Troy as joint owners. She gave him my half. I felt something snap in my chest. Not anger. Not even grief. Just emptiness. This wasn't a betrayal anymore. This was erasure. I stayed like that for a week. Frozen. Then one night, I opened my old laptop, the one I hadn't touched in months. Dust clung to the keyboard like it missed me. I didn't know what I was doing at first. I just opened a blank page and started typing. Notes, ideas, fragments of things I used to be passionate about. Then I went to one of those freelancer platforms I hadn't touched since college. I clicked on available for work. It wasn't much, but within a week, I had 2 gigs. Debugging code, writing API documentation, helping some guy in Nebraska redesign a basic website. I started waking up early again, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I stopped scrolling through Melissa's page. I started reading tech blogs again, contributing in forums, even joined a virtual hackathon just for fun. Our team didn't win, but my part got attention. A startup founder DM'd me. You ever think about building your own thing? That night, I bought a whiteboard and hung it on the wall with duct tape. Wrote the words, build, not beg. I was still angry, but now I wasn't going to waste it. Melissa had taken the house. She'd taken my trust, but she hadn't taken me, not the part that mattered. I was still standing, a little bent, a little bruised, but breathing. And this time I wasn't going to hand anything over for free. Not again. 2 years can change everything. The studio apartment was long behind me. So was the futon, the flickering heater, and the damp ceiling tiles. Now, I had a 2-story home on a quiet street shaded with old trees. The kind of place where neighbors wave when they see you. Where the mailbox doesn't lean sideways. Where silence meant peace, not loneliness. My office overlooked the backyard. Not big, but mine. A fig tree was trying to grow crookedly by the fence. On the desk beside me, my silver YouTube Creator Award gleamed in the morning light. Who would have thought that a few tutorials on data encryption and cyber hygiene would snowball into over 1 million subscribers? I didn't do it to be famous. I did it because I was tired of feeling invisible. Now people paid to hear me speak at tech conferences. Startups sent me prototypes to review. Investors invited me to dinner. I turned some of them down. The power of choice is underrated. But the best thing? Her name was Sophia. We met at a conference in Austin. She was giving a talk on ethical AI and told a joke halfway through that made the entire room laugh, including the guy in the back who looked like he hadn't smiled since 2002. She was smart, funny, sharp-tongued in the best way. First date? Tacos and talking till 2 a.m. Second, she beat me at chess and refused to apologize. By month 4, she'd seen the old apartment, heard the whole story about Melissa and the house. She didn't pity me. She just said, well, damn. And now look at you. The email came out of nowhere. Subject line, hey. I hovered over it for a while before clicking. It was from Melissa. Hey, Ozzy. I know it's been a while, but Liam's birthday is next weekend. He really misses you. We were wondering if you might want to stop by, just for cake or something. I stared at it. Liam. He was 9 now. I hadn't seen him in almost 2 years. Not since I walked out of that house with a box and a numb heart. The next day, another email. Also, not to be weird or anything, but we've hit a rough patch with the mortgage. Nothing serious, just some temporary cash flow issues. Since you're doing well and all, maybe there's a way you could invest, like help us refi or something? Just until things stabilize. There it was, the real reason. I felt something twist in my stomach, not pain, not anger, just confirmation. She hadn't changed. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I reread the message 3 times, then closed the tab and walked outside. Sophia was trimming the little fig tree, wearing gloves 2 sizes too big for her. Something wrong? She asked without looking up. Melissa emailed. She raised an eyebrow. She finally say thank you for the free house? I laughed. Not quite. I told her about the birthday invite, the mortgage hint, the word invest. She took off her gloves, brushed her hands, and leaned against the fence. You going to help her? I shook my head slowly. She never asked for help. She asked for another sacrifice. Sophia nodded. Then don't make one. That night, I sat down with a cup of coffee and wrote back, "Hey Mel, I'm glad Liam's doing okay. I think about him often. I hope the party goes well. Please tell him I said happy birthday, but I won't be able to make it. As for the other thing, I'm not your safety net anymore, Mel. I wish you the best." Oh, I hovered for just a moment before clicking send, and then for the first time in a long time, I felt something loosen in my chest. Not victory, not revenge, just freedom. Melissa's luck finally ran out. I'd been watching the housing market quietly, keeping tabs on the old family home, the one I'd signed away without a fight, the one I'd saved her from losing a year ago. But money doesn't stretch forever, and it didn't take long before I saw the signs, foreclosure notices, late mortgage payments, and then the listing. She was selling the house. I heard about it through a mutual acquaintance, a lawyer friend who mentioned a sale pending on a house in my old neighborhood. Curiosity got the better of me. I asked questions. A plan started to form. Why not buy it myself? Keep it out of her hands. So I did. Through a lawyer, a friend who handled the paperwork quietly, I bought the house at market price. No favors, no discounts. When Melissa found out, her reaction was anything but subtle. She stormed into my office the day after the deal closed. Her eyes were wild, a mixture of panic, anger, and betrayal. "What the hell, Oscar? How could you?" I leaned back in my chair, calm as ever. "Melissa, you're the one who couldn't keep up. You sold the house. I just made sure it didn't fall into the wrong hands." Her voice cracked. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" Watching me fail, I shook my head slowly. "No. But I won't let you use me again. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I never wanted a battle with my own sister. But karma has a way of catching up." Melissa paced the room like a caged animal, then stopped abruptly. "So, what now? You just kick me out? Take everything?" I pulled out a fresh lease agreement and set it on the desk. "You can rent it, market rate, month to month." Her face twisted in disbelief. "Rent? From you? After everything?" "Yes, that's the deal." She laughed bitterly. "This is your revenge, isn't it?" "No revenge," I said quietly. "Just boundaries." She glared, then stormed out, slamming the door behind her. That night, I stood by the window looking out over the house. The same walls that had held our childhood, now a battleground. But this time, I was in control. Days later, Melissa came back. This time she wasn't yelling. She looked tired, worn down. I need a place for Liam," she said quietly. I nodded. "Then rent the house. Pay the rent on time. Respect the terms." She hesitated, then whispered, "Thank you." I didn't say anything. Sometimes, the hardest lessons come wrapped in silence. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just reclaiming a house. I was reclaiming my life. Melissa was leaving. I watched from the kitchen window as she loaded the last of her boxes into the car. Liam ran around her, clutching a small stuffed animal, oblivious to the heavy silence hanging in the air. No hugs, no tears, no goodbyes. Just the cold, quiet end to a chapter I never thought would close this way. Sophia stood beside me, her hand lightly resting on my shoulder. "It's harder than it looks, isn't it?" she said softly. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "It is, but sometimes it's necessary." The house felt empty, but peaceful. The chaos of the past years seemed to settle into something calm, almost healing. After Melissa drove away, I walked through the rooms once shared, memories lingering in every corner. The laughter and fights, promises and betrayals, all etched into the walls. I reached the old family photo hanging in the living room. Mom and Dad smiling, young and hopeful, and me and Melissa side by side, back when the world was simpler. That day, I realized something important. A house is just a building, 4 walls and a roof. It doesn't make a family. It's the people, the trust, the love, or the lack of it, that do. I turned to Sophia, who smiled warmly. "You've come so far, Oscar, from that guy who gave up everything to the man who's building something real." Her words hit home, because I wasn't just rebuilding a life or a career. Over the past 2 years, I'd started something new, a foundation for people like me. People betrayed by family, who lost everything but still found a way to stand up. It's not about money or houses. It's about healing and hope. Sitting at my desk, I glanced at a letter from a woman I'd helped recently. She wrote about finding strength after her own betrayal, about learning to trust again. Stories like hers remind me why I did what I did. No, I'm not bitter. No, I'm not holding grudges. I'm just at peace. Maybe giving up my share wasn't the mistake. Trusting someone who only loves you when it's easy, that was. And now, I'm choosing to surround myself with people who stay, even when it's hard. As the sun set outside the window, I felt ready. Ready to move forward without looking back. Because home isn't a place. It's where you find peace.